Hi, I'm Annie Botticelli, and welcome to my Scorpio August 2025 astrology horoscope forecast. This month, I'm going to use physics concepts to help you understand the astrological influences and how the astronomy relates to the astrology and how this will factor in your experience. We're stepping into a major time of intensity as the eclipse portal has now opened, so the break that we had for integration from the last series of eclipses is now closed, and we are stepping into new changes along the lines of what came up starting last year, 2024, came up again in early 2025, and here we are in the third manifestation of the Pisces Virgo eclipse cycle. So we'll see what kind of life trajectory shifts may come up for Scorpio. This is for you if Scorpio is your sun sign, your moon sign, your rising sign, or any other Scorpio placement you're listening for. What I'm going to talk about here is part of your astrological picture. Very late degree Scorpio friends, so birthdays like November 15th through the rest of the sign, or Scorpio degrees 23 degrees through the rest of the sign. I suggest you additionally listen to my Sagittarius report as you very late degree Scorpio friends, Scorpitarius, as I like to call you, friends may benefit from both readings. All right, so let's talk about the energy of a square. Some people have come to fear this 90-degree angle, which we have known as a point of tension, which is the level, the most superficial level astrologically are these planets that are faster moving. Okay, so we're going to start with this and then build up to the bigger, more profound movements. So we'll just start off light here. Mercury and the Sun, later in the month Venus, are all in Leo. This is going to light up and accentuate your work and career, your place out of your home, whether it's employment or career, or whether it's projects that you're doing within the community. It's things that you're basically doing out there. And with all of this Leo energy, including Mercury retrograde for part of the month, you're going back to things, you're revamping, you're refiguring things out. The Sun is acting as a spotlight to show you what needs to happen in that arena, and Venus is coming in and hopefully giving you ideas about how you can monetize or how you can bring more emotional connection to that space. Now with Leo here, there could be pride or ego, clashes, and we're going to talk about that in a second, but there can also be bravery, getting up the courage to ask for a raise, getting up the courage to assert something that's important to you in these arenas. And it could also have to do with a parent. So something is happening here with an authority figure or someone who was previously an authority figure. But let's talk about this square energy, because I told you we're going to go into physics. I do like to talk about physics things as much as possible and how the science of astronomy flavors and shapes our experience of astrology, because astrology, well, basically astronomy is this observation of the heavenly bodies. And astrology is the same thing. We're observing these heavenly bodies, but we're looking to see what meaning and what effects it has on us as humans and on the world. Okay, so that search for meaning, that search for accessible insights is the astrological tilt of the astronomical movements. And ultimately, we're just trying to align with the natural rhythms of the universe. So that's what's going on. And I usually bring in scientific topics, but I'm going to go a little deeper this time because just a couple of days ago, I was at the beautiful, very, very, very amazing Cincinnati Museum of Science and Natural History. What a treat. If you have a chance to go there, it really is great. While I was there, I was in one of the exhibits, and it was trying to illustrate the principle of relative gravity, figured out by Einstein, that basically talks about the mass of an object, that time and space warp around the mass of an object, which is why planets, heavenly bodies, have gravitational fields of their own, because time and space are bending around them. And these gravitational fields colliding or making different mathematical interactions with each other activate certain things that we feel down here, as above, so below. So when we're looking at the energy of a square, astrologically, we'll talk about this as a point of tension. People will say, oh no, it's going to be stressful. Sometimes it is, but a lot of times it's better than that. Because when we look at the physics parallel, tension and friction And the angular torque, 90 degrees, which is what this is that point of maximum resistance before the directional change. And that's exactly what we're talking about energetically. It directly relates to how we experience squares. There is that angular torque energetically before we break through into something else. And the square exerts the pressure for us to be able to do that. It's a catalyst. It gives us inspiration, motivation. It helps us to assert doing something differently. And when we do something differently, we can change our trajectory. So if we're doing something in this way, we're going on this path. But then with the addition of the pressure, so this person plus the pressure, maybe the person will now do this, and now they're going to go in this direction. So this is what's happening. So something involving your creativity, which is Leo, something involving your children or your romantic relationship, has to do with work, or pressures from work are causing conflicts with those other relationships, or vice versa. So there's something going on here, and it's all back to who you are and how you present yourself in the world. So you may have to assert yourself in certain ways, and you will know what they are if this is appropriate for you, as it relates to your work in the world to bring your creative brilliance. And so you can think about this square as this force that brings a change in momentum. All right. So there's stagnation, this comes, and then we've got a change in momentum. So you can liken it to two gears that are meeting at a misaligned angle, right? They grind, they spark, and they definitely require recalibration. So something in these arenas are requiring recalibration for you to bring your highest expression and bring that out into the world. All right. So with Mercury and Venus and the Sun in Leo, you've got this cognitive, creative pressure that's building, and it may clash with your ego or someone else's. They can't take what you're doing, you see? So things that you do now can catch fire, and they can also burn out your stories, basically. So burn up your outdated stories. And that is a really good way to use this. So big key here with this square, don't avoid the grind, just use the friction that comes to fuel the redirection. All right, that's what's going on. You're going to do redirecting this month. Now, I will tell you, we do have more sweet aspects than salty ones this month, but just by a hair. So we do have some clashes, especially in the days around August 1st and 2nd, the beginning of the month. We've got a series of clashes from August 24th through 27th. You may feel these clusters of challenge days before and after as well. And, so these points of tension are going to come up, and you will see this, this at play, especially in that August 1st, August 2nd, because we will still have all of this Leo energy exceptionally strong at that time. Venus will be in Leo by the time of this later clash series in the days around August 24th through 27th, but the Sun and Mercury will have moved on by then. Okay, so basically, you want to take action. Now, we are working within a retrograde. Let's talk about that timing. August 11th, Mercury goes direct in Leo. It takes until August 26th for Mercury to be free and clear of any of its mischief. And then we open up into our next and last open period of the whole year, free of personal planet retrogrades. Okay, so if you follow my work, you know that we have been in July and August waiting on the shore, seeing what the, tides bring to us. And then as the middle of August comes, that starts to shift where we start to become more of an active participant. And by the end of the month, you can start, putting your messages in a bottle, put your boats afloat, put your surfing paddle gear, whatever the heck, out on the water and head out, because the tides will begin going out. So you will feel that tide shift where a lot of things are coming in. You're having to deal with things right in front of you. Things are being called into question. Plans are being changed. You can't have clarity. And then as the month goes on, you'll start to develop that clarity. And a lot of the sweet aspects we have are actually in the second half of the month as well. Okay, so now let's talk about another series of angles and some things going on. Now, we do have some very sweet very, very nice matching coherent energy. And I will get to that. I'm starting with the challenges so that we can work up to the yummy stuff. And I still think that these challenges are yummy as well. And many Scorpios who love that transformation and alchemical process may also enjoy that, right? But let's look at this. Saturn and Neptune newly into Aries. Ceres there for a short time comparatively. Chiron's been there for years, still has a little longer. And all of these are making what's called a quincunx angle to Scorpio. So they, first of all, are bringing a focus to your health, a focus to your daily experience, a new level of autonomy, a new level of independence in what you do every day, a new level of following your own flow. So that's one of the benefits. Now, because of this awkward angle, you may have to fight for that. You may have to fight for that individuality. You may have to fight for that autonomy, and you may have to fight to have a voice in this situation. And that is a theme for Scorpio at this time. You may have to fight for your voice at this time. And if you have been doing typical water stuff, which is kind of moving around things, then all of this fire energy is making you take a direct stance. Okay? So let's talk about the physics parallel with the quincunx angle. So these are incoherent angles. Okay? So this is like a series of incoherent systems that are attempting to sync up, but are not doing it. You know, like attempting to harmonize instruments in different tunings, you know, or in different keys. Energetic misfit equals adaptation pressure. So you've got pressure coming. All right. Again, not all pressure is bad. If you want to accomplish a goal, that pressure that comes right before the goal is good. If you are working on something exciting, groundbreaking, a brand new era for you, a very new big change, then this pressure is the transition energy that it takes to go into the next stage. Very much like birthing a baby. There's so much pressure there. Mamas, I know you're feeling me. The pressure is unbelievable. Feels like your hips are going to shatter. But then you birth the baby, right? So that's what's going on right now. Scorpio is experiencing these growing pains, but the births are imminent. So that's the excitement. That's the joy. So these quincunxes aren't like oppositions, all right? They just don't quite work without recalibrating. So again, we bring up this theme of recalibration, and you're getting it from both of these ends here. All right, so Saturn and Neptune making this angle to your Scorpio placements are going to challenge this instinctual rhythm. This story of your instinct is being told through these Aries placements. They're being told through the Aries placements angle hitting your ascendant in the chart. Okay, now mind you, I don't have a lot of time to go into what I'm about to say, but I want to help clear this up for people who don't understand. The ascendant point in the chart is not just owned by a birth chart, okay? When we're looking at a solar chart, a sun horoscope chart, we put the sun on the ascendant. If you have Scorpio rising, we put the Scorpio on the ascendant. If you're looking at a Scorpio moon, we put that on the ascendant. That's why this same report will work for any of those placements you have, because when you're running a horoscope chart, you put those placements on the ascendant. That's why I suggest watching for your rising and your sun at least, because if your rising is Scorpio, but your sun is, let's say, Gemini, then the solar chart for the sun horoscope is going to have Gemini on the ascendant. Okay? So I know this is a little bit confusing, but it's basically like having two windows of a house that point towards two different scenes. On one end of the house is a lake, and on the other end of the house is a highway. The tranquility of the lake is still happening for the people who occupy the house at the same time as the busy chaoticness of the road. The fact that there are different charts that affect the same person doesn't negate the fact that each of them are true, okay? So I just figured I'd give a little dive into that. All right, so now back to this. You're having your instinctual rhythm challenged. Maybe this has been going on for a while, and now you're trying to assert your instinctual rhythm. There may be certain things within you that need to be recalibrated, that you need to realign with the natural rhythm, with the circadian rhythm, with the rhythm of the universe. And this is a time where things might feel a little bit out of sync, but you can use those awarenesses to see how you can get back in sync. All right. So something else that's going on here. Scorpios are going through a very, very, very big crossroads change from Chiron being so close to the next sign of Taurus, which puts Chiron's energy at this ascendant-descendant line, which is one of the major sets of cusps, which puts you at a crossroads. Chiron is the wounded healer. It's crossing into your house of relationships. All of your deepest wounds are coming up to be healed. This energy is opposing yourself and your authenticity. So again, this instinctual rhythm, this individual rhythm is going to start coming out more. And you're going to have to rework how you're going to do that within your relationship space. So you will be seeing this come up. This is a story that will unfold over quite a few years, but we're starting to really notice this. All right, so this is happening, and you are reaching a crossroads. Can you have the level of autonomy and freedom within your relationship that you want to have, given the circumstances? I mean, if you have children and the children need things, then there's only so much autonomy that you can have given those circumstances, right? You do your best. If you have 5 minutes alone when your kids are young, that seems like a lot. But, true to your circumstance, you may be looking for how you can spend more time on your own and how you can do more things that are in your personal flow. And you may feel the challenges to that. Okay, so that will be what's going on. Okay, so now Uranus moving into the 8th house is moving into this, it's a space of surprises, basically. So you have gone through a lot of upheaval in your relationship space over the last 7 or 8 years. And now you're going to take this level of disruption, but also this level of genius into your deeper relationships, okay? So this is a time where Scorpios are starting to really shake things up. Shaking things up in your relationships, you're shaking things up with how you do your money, you're shaking things up with your daily routine, you're shaking things up with how you show up in the world with your work. And this month is very much embodying, not only in a short-term way, but also a long-term way with the changes of these outer planets. Now, I'm not going to talk that much more about the outer planet changes, but we have had Pluto, Saturn, Neptune, Uranus, and Jupiter all within a short amount of time change signs. This is very rare. If you want to see how this affects you personally in your personal chart more, go to Annie B. Clarity, Annie, the letter B, clarity.com, and see my outer planet transit report that's personalized. Okay. So now I want to go on and just go back over a few dates. Okay, or go over a few dates. So August 9th, we've got the full moon at 17 degrees of Aquarius. And that for you is going to be in your 4th house. Scorpios have been seeing a lot of changes to their family, birth, death, transformation, rebirth. Pluto being at that cusp, that same crossroads for home and work you've been going through, and that's going to continue. But here, just in the days around August 9th, there's fullness, there's completion, there's fruition to something in your home and family or housing. All right, this also can have to do with Aquarius things, which are community and internet-based projects and friendships and social circles. So look for things to come from the hidden realm out into the conscious realm in either of those arenas. As I said, August 11th is a big turning point in the month. This is where we are moving from our deep inward earthworm, being the earthworm, going back over things, waiting on the shore for things to come to us, and start to switch into the mode that will be more active and more direct, where we're seeing more for the future, things for the future, not as much going back over the past, and where we can start to make more plans, and that is going to be very noticeable. In the days around August 22nd, August 23rd, we've got a new moon at 0 degrees of Virgo, which means that that next new moon is going to be at 29 degrees of Virgo, which means that that's going to be a black moon, and that black moon on September 21st is a black moon solar eclipse, right? The other eclipse is September 7th at 15 degrees of Pisces, and these are going to bring major changes, the likes of which we have started to see starting at the end of 2024 and going into 2027. We're in a cycle with these Pisces Virgo eclipses that are activating themes that are going to be present and then come back into consciousness every 6 months for years. And this has to do with your creativity versus yourself as part of a group and how you're navigating between those polarities. All right, so changes to how you express yourself, changes to how your social scene looks, all of that is going to be coming up. Now, fortunately for Scorpio, even though we talked about a lot of these other aspects being annoying, having annoying angles, the eclipses, which are the very, very big overriding storyline over multiple years, are in a nice angle for you. Pisces and Virgo are a trine and a sextile, and both of these are really great angles. So that, coupled with Venus and Jupiter in fellow water sign of Cancer, activating your 9th house, bringing learning opportunities, long-distance travel opportunities, citizenship and immigration opportunities, speaking, publishing, philosophical musing in fulfilling ways. All of these things can come up. Learning languages. For the next month, where Venus is there, you may earn some money that way, or there may be financial things involved, or love. And for the next year, Jupiter in its house that it rules, which is the Sagittarius 9th house, is very happy there. So you've got double expansion energy. All of that's going on, and it's in a great angle for you. So when we have these nice angles, the trines, the physics parallel here is resonance and harmonic flow and alignment, like tuning forks that are vibrating in ways that are matching. There's less energy that's required, and there's more flow that's achieved. So you're going to be able to see that as it relates to those arenas of your life. And then that's going to feel like more emotional ease and spiritual insight and heightened intuition. It's going to enhance your inner sensing and your inner world. Now, from the Pisces eclipse, 15-degree Pisces eclipse, September 7th, that's the full moon lunar, that's going to be in a nice angle for you, 15 degrees. So anyone between 10 degrees and 20 degrees, closer to 15, the more you're going to get the kisses from that eclipse. And that there's a range of the dates that can be, but that's mostly around 1st through October 10th, with around October 5th being in the exact there. And this can vary by several days because the sun doesn't move into Scorpio the same day each year. And from the degree perspective, 15 degrees and down to 10 and up to 20. If you're in that degree range with your Scorpio placement, then you're more likely to get a kiss from that Pisces eclipse. Now, when it comes to the Virgo energy, this 60-degree angle, we have a little bit longer of Mars there. And then we've got that new black moon solar eclipse at 29 degrees on September 21st, of course, feeling that earlier. This is an energetic opportunity window. And we'll talk about jumping timelines. All right, so what happens when the sun, the moon, and the earth line up? Okay, here's how you spell it. S-Y-Z-Y-G-Y. Crazy word. Basically means a vector and alignment. So basically, the thing I was talking about before, how the planets have their own individual mass, that time and space warp around. This is very important to remember because we are used to thinking of time as linear. And there is a certain dimension of experience where we do experience logical, rational, linear time, where things happen in succession, where outcomes are linear like this, and experiences. However, on other levels, time is not linear, and that is energetically as above, so below. We see this from the warping of time and space around the objects. So when the earth and the sun and the moon go and form this syzygy, as it's called, for a short amount of time, which reflects out in orbs of time forward and backward, the mass of these planets are like one, which increase the mass, which increase the warping of time and space, which is why I always say you can clear up a massive amount of karma in a short amount of time at eclipse time. Now, I've never explained why, because I try to go easy on you guys with physics lessons, but having gone to that Cincinnati museum just recently, I'm all jazzed up about it, and so I'm talking about it. But hopefully you enjoy this, this dive into, the science behind how astrology works, because there is this science to it. So they do have more mass energetically, and then time and space are warping around them, creating these rifts in the matrix, which can cause, time bending, basically, and shortened timelines, escalated timelines, and, where you can slip into different experiences and radically change your trajectory or, the time it may take to get to in a certain direction, because it cuts out this linearity. So I could go on and on about all this, but I want to keep this to a reasonable, usable length. If you want to learn astrology and you resonate with how I teach, go to beastropro.com, beastropro.com. See my very comprehensive system and my astrology certification course. If you want more dates, I gave you a bunch of dates already, but if you want more, then go to anniehelpsyou.com, put your name and email address in, get the welcome letter for my free VIP community. In the archive link in that welcome letter, click on that and then search for August 2025 astrology. You will get the sweet and salty dates, which are midway through that email. And then the whole second half of the newsletter is me going into detail about my favorite aspects of the month and the ones to be most awareful and careful of. I hope you have a wonderful month, and that the eclipse intensity that is building all month, that you can feel the alchemy in this and are ready to stand strong as we approach September, which is the pinnacle of that energy. But you'll definitely be feeling it this month, which is why I'm talking about it now. I hope you have a wonderful month, and I'll see you next month. Bye.